Welcome back to Where is the Money? So I guess the money is not with Hershey, or is it? So just recently announced Hershey plans to raise their prices immediately.
Now to some news this morning that could be hard to swallow for chocolate lovers. Hershey announcing it's raising its prices because of sky-high costs of cocoa. Let's bring in NBC's business correspondent Brian Chung. Brian, good morning. First it was eggs, then it was beef. Now we got chocolate. Just how much more are people going to have to pay? And why now?
Unfortunately, it's going to get a little bit more expensive to satiate that sweet tooth because Hershey's did say that they're going to have to raise the cost on consumers by low double digits. That's basically business speak for about 10%. So if you do the back of the napkin math, if you're buying a $1.50 Hershey's chocolate bar, well, that could get 10% more expensive. The company is very clear that this is not related to tariffs. They said so in a statement. They're saying this is because of the rising cost of cocoa production out of two major suppliers, that is Ghana and Ivory Coast. They account for about 60% of the world's production.
And they say it's not because of the tariffs. Then why? They're citing supply issues, the increasing cost of cocoa with the supply they get from other countries. Apparently, those countries are not the ones greatly impacted by the tariffs, so they're saying that that's not the reason, but they're raising it anyway. So let's see what we can find out about this.
Not only could there be price increases, they might even have to change the size of the packaging and what's known as shrinkflation, as we've talked about so much on the show. So this is going to impact a lot of those big brands that we know of. I don't know if you're a fan of Reese's or KitKat. I'm a big KitKat guy, but again, these are the types of brands that could get a little bit more expensive.
I was going to say old-fashioned M&Ms. It's not good news if you love those, right? But it's not just beef, as Laura was saying earlier, not just cocoa, as we've been reporting on right here. There's some other areas that are getting impacted by these prices. Who's hit?
Yeah, well, I mean, Hershey's saying that this is not tariff-related kind of ignores the fact that there are all these other categories that could be hit by the tariffs. One big one is that 50% tariff that the president is threatening on Brazil. Brazil is a major exporter.
It's not tariff-related, but it feels like it's tariff-related. And they don't even know what impact of the tariff is going to be yet when it takes effect August 1st. So a lot of people are calling Hershey out like, hey, man, are you doing this because you need to do this? Are you doing this just to pretend that it's a cause out of your control just to raise the price because everything else is going up? You're essentially price gouging us because you can. Is that the case, Hershey?
Did you hear that Hershey's is about to raise the price of all their chocolate in 90 days? You know where 90 days puts us? October 21st, 10 days before Halloween. You think that's a coincidence? Y'all, they're literally telling us what they're doing, and we need to pay attention. And if you haven't seen it, I encourage you to go watch Johnny Harris's video on the red play button, where he goes way more into this than I will. But he shows how the major egg corporations that have been doing this and jacking up the egg prices way more than they had to, and citing things like the bird flu epidemic or supply chain issues or COVID as the reason for them raising their prices. But if you look closely, these corporations are still recording record profits. And how they're doing this is not a mystery because they've said it out loud, but they say it on shareholder calls and on corporate communications. They don't advertise that they're doing this, but they're raising prices more than they needed to. So they aren't just raising prices to adjust that for the higher costs. No, no, no. They are raising it more so that they can make a bigger profit. And Hershey's is taking a play right out of their playbook. When Hershey's announced that they were going to be raising prices in 90 days, they hit a lot of the same buzzwords like supply chain issues. But the biggest one they said is the rising prices of the cocoa bean. That makes sense, right? You need cocoa bean to make chocolate. The prices of cocoa beans have gone up, then obviously it's going to cost more for Hershey's to make the chocolate. That's what we all rationalize in our heads. And so come October 21st, when we all see those higher prices, yep, you know, the cocoa bean is more expensive. Except there's one problem. The cocoa bean just hit an 8-year all-time low. So why would Hershey's do this? Profits. Because Hershey's doesn't just make Hershey's Kisses. Hershey's makes Reese's. Hershey's makes KitKat. Think about all the different types of cookies that use Hershey's chocolate. That means that they get to jack up those prices on all of those cocoa products simply to make a bigger profit. So the next time a company spouts off supply chain issues or rising costs of an ingredient, say, okay, let me Google that real quick, and I'll save the time. They're greedy fuckers. So for this Halloween, I call for a Hershey's blackout. So Hershey's, you're on the list. And I encourage you to put Hershey's on your boycott list, especially for Halloween, because there's nothing like a greedy corporation trying to take advantage of a holiday for kids.
Now, if that's the case, they wouldn't be the first company to do something like that. Raise the price, blame it on unforeseen circumstances based on the economy, and record profits. Business as usual, but now the consumer is a lot more price conscious and they're paying attention to this quote unquote 10% increase minimum, because it's supposed to be double digits. People are not actually happy about that.
This is the worst. I heard it on the news today. They are raising the price of the Hershey bar. When candy starts to go up, I mean, there's a lot of bad news in the news today. But when candy starts to go up, much less the Hershey bar, which is my favorite drugstore brand candy bar. I mean, I can't.
So whether economists and people running all the data about the economy, the CPI report and all these reports, whether they want to officially call it a recession or not, that makes no difference. These days, prices is up for everything, and chocolate is just now hit the top of the list as one of those prices that we did not want to increase, but here we are. What do you make it is? Is this just signs of the recession or the economy, Trump's economy? What's going on? Is that just what we are to expect? Or is this just Hershey being a bad actor among all the inflation? Put your comments below. Let's talk about it. This is Where is the Money? Talk to you soon.